Oh, there it goes. It's on now.
Oh,
Somebody
Oh,
forgot to flip a
was
switch.
off.
Somebody forgot to flip
Now
a
you
switch.
see how she's reacted, because this is the normal reaction. Oh my gosh. Jim Davis. All right. Apparently I turned.
cut us off live one time by flipping that switch
That's
down
right.
there.
So apparently I turned the volume off. So it's now back on. So and hopefully when we get all this fixed, we'll just have it automatic. It's always on.
Does that mean I'll start over?
You can start over. So tell us about
Okay.
Senator Thune, who is
Senator
the Senate
John
Majority.
Thune, the Senate Majority Leader, has had an FEC complaint filed concerning and I can't remember, it's either 741 or 714 senior citizens' identities that they funneled 1.184 million in campaign funds through these supposedly given by these senior citizens. And what they're doing, again, it was started by Act Blue, and they call it smurfing. But the whole idea is that,
And they call it smurfing because the Smurfs were blue. And
yes, little blue people.
I think there was a red Smurf. Wasn't
I think there
there?
was one.
Some sort of.
Incredible.
No, he just wore red pants, that's all.
Oh, this
Is
has
that what it
been
was?
this has been going on. They're saying Act Blue has been doing this for the last at least 5 years.
No, I mean, when red.
Well, the complaint was just filed last week.
But what they're trying to do, think about this. And obviously, it's just a complaint, innocent until proven guilty. Who really knows? They've been making these accusations against Act Blue for a long time, and nobody's actually paid the price or
Yeah,
whatever.
nobody's been arrested because it's Act Blue.
It's an allegation.
But think about it. If I don't know what the maximum contribution is, $3,500
$3,500
to a U.S. senator. Say, we all don't have $3,500 we want to give to some U.S. senator, but say there's one person, Austin, that's got 3,500 times 20 in here, and he's willing to fund it,
It's 14,000.
but he can only legally give 3,500 each. So what you do is you use do it under your name and your name and your name and your name, but Austin is the one doing it, or some nefarious group is doing it. Sorry.
But they don't know, the people don't know.
Correct. And there is a website. I've seen it. I don't remember what it is, but there is a website where you can go and look this stuff up, look your own name up to see if you've been a victim of it.
And with our data, we could do research.
Yes.
We could look for multiple.
Well, one of the biggest
Same
things
amounts
is it's
done
a
at the
way for
same-
them to launder foreign money in the U.S. elections,
That's-
which is
2020 campaign, I was donating through Red, and then I started having trouble with my bank account. And it turned out that they had decided that I was going to donate twice a month, every month. I never said that.
That's a different issue.
Yep. But
This issue is, say, a foreign actor, a foreign country. I picked on Austin as an example, but really the real problem is, as Scott points out, a foreign country
like Ukraine.
Ukraine wants to give money back to John Thune because he's been, so they just use everybody's name and social security number or whatever information they have and say that person is doing it. So if you looked on WinRed or somewhere in the FEC, Federal Election Commission things, and it showed that you were giving $3,500 to a politician, and I think the comment was one of the people that called up, and the person said, "I'm having trouble just paying for my food, my grocery bill at the end of the month, and I'm certainly not donating $3,500."
And well, what that one found was that's one of the ones that O'Keefe found through Act Blue, that they had given over $80,000. But what they were doing is they funneled it through like 30 different Senate
I
campaigns.
bet that is rampant. I bet it happens.
It's very
a lot.
easy to do.
Because
That's
it's
the
hard.
key part.
You have to get, they pick people who are not going to do research
that
on
aren't
their own,
online,
that aren't online, and they just put it in their name, and as long as they don't raise flags,
Right.
they've been probably for years and years and years and years.
Because you just set up an account, you go in,
Yep.
and they just do it for
You
you.
don't get statements in the mail or anything. You don't get receipts.
My question is, can I ask for a refund and get my $80,000 back or whatever they said I donated?
Yeah.
Well, that's a good question.
Yeah, I want a refund of the money I donated to you.
So don't call it cheap
So
rate just yet.
that is at least out there. It's interesting. I think a lot of this stuff, we all accuse the Democrats of doing things. I think a lot of Republicans do the same things. I think they look at it as an easy route to solve an immediate problem. And what I've always said, we take the harder route even though it's a lot, more difficult way to go there, but it's based on truth and honesty as opposed to, well, it's easy. Because what we try to teach is about, this is the money side of it, but it's really just, to me, it's the mental manipulation, acting one way, but you're really just trying to fool people that are drive-by voters or might not know the in-depth types of things. And I can give an example of one of them that came up this morning in regards to the state executive committee, national committeeman vote tomorrow down in Columbia. They're calling out Becky McLaughlin next door, this one lady named by the name of Debbie Baker, who's part of the old guard. She was the person who was always nice to everybody on our side. And I'm like, you can't trust any of them because, she's being nice until you cross her once. And now she's been crossed or whatever, she's exposed herself. And she is one of the most rampant, nastiest people online calling things out. And it's like, to me, it's always obvious because this is just what they do. So now she's calling out Becky saying, we're told you're going to vote for Tyson tomorrow. And Tyson is a lobbyist, and Tyson didn't support the censure of Tom Rice when he voted to impeach, impeach Donald Trump, and all those types of things. And, has anybody who's an EC in Spartanburg, have they called a meeting to be able to come together and ask, how do you want Spartanburg to vote on this vote and all this kind of stuff? But she won't come to the table and talk about it. Nobody's ever asked. I've never seen it in all of my history that an EC or they brought the executive committee together to ask about a particular vote on something down at the state executive committee. To me, we ran on, we are opposing the establishment, and this is what we're doing to oppose the establishment. If y'all want to re-emphasize that every time, we can do that. But that's what Becky was elected to do: oppose the establishment, fight back against Drew, and for truth and transparency. But this lady is posting out on social media these types of things, calling them out, and it's like, she knows better. She was always the person who was friendly to our side, and now that she's out and she's saying these things. But that's, these are political tactics and tricks that they do, and the other side does it. And our side does it too when they're desperate for stuff. If you want to have if Debbie Baker want to have an honest discussion about who we should vote for tomorrow for national committeeman, we'll have that open and honest discussion. She does not want to have that discussion. And that's what I told Becky and some other, county leaders across the state, about this, on a message chat that we're on. Ask her to come to, let's all sit down and talk about it. She doesn't want to talk about it. She just wants to create chaos and all that, and it's just hilarious to do. And I will tell you the other thing that I did notice that was kind of funny before we get back to this, is Nate Lloyd made some comment, because I guess based on the primary or the special elections they had over in Spartanburg on Tuesday, he was like, it's the kiss of death. If Spartanburg GOP supports you, or their Saturday camp meeting supports you, or he put mySCGOP supports you, then that's the kiss of death. And it's just hilarious to watch it. Guess who one of the people were that liked that post? Lynn Ballard. Lynn Ballard is who Rick Bradley ran. 4 years ago, we supported Rick Bradley in that race. Rick's done a few things. We'll talk about it. But, it's like, Lynn Ballard, who was unelected because of somebody an incumbent who was unelected for somebody we supported 4 years ago, or 3.5 at this point, is liking a comment. It's all mental manipulation.
The story changes now. Now, the kiss of death apparently works only on open seats.
Only on open seats, not an incumbent seat?
Right, because someone brought up, well, you supported Adam Morgan, he supported Timmons won. Well, number one, Timmons lost Greenville. Number two, he was an incumbent. So someone brought up all the county council that we replaced before: Kurt, Gary, Kelly, Frank. He said, they were running against incumbents, that doesn't count. Well, let's bring up Michael Carter and Al Hodges. Open
seat for county treasurer.
Michael Carter was supported by Nate and his whole cabal.
3.5 years ago.
We supported Al Hodges. Al won. What's going to be the excuse now?
You can't trust anything these people say. And my litmus test with all of them is, will they come and sit down and talk? And I told Becky and those guys, I said, I give them the opportunity. We can sit down and talk publicly, privately, on the record, off the record, anywhere, anytime, we can broadcast, whatever you want to do. And then what they started doing is saying, well, we don't want to talk with Jeff because Jeff will sue us. I'm like, okay. So I'm added in, and we will provide whatever legal release for anything you may say. So if you sit there and say, oh, you're just an evil, blah, 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 blah.
How many people have you sued for talking to you?
Not for talking, nobody for talking. Generally, it is all because they will refuse to talk to us and they go out and spread lies and rumors. And he's been disbarred and he's this and he's that. And, and it's funny. That's why I'm kind of, but, our issue is we've given up on the courts because they all side or have heretofore sided. I think it's switching. I think kind of like what you're seeing with the Trump thing, he was losing all those cases, right? Now he's president again, and he seems to start winning a few things. And I'm like, I think those judges start seeing the writing on the wall that, it's not going to last forever. But, we're experiencing some good things too. But anything more on Thune or?
Well, it's just, I think everybody just needs to be paying attention because there is a group of online investigators, for lack of a better term. And they are raking through this stuff. And a couple of them I've had conversations with, you can tell they know what they're doing. They know where to look. They know if they're bodies, they'll find where they're buried. And this Thune one, the reason that I understood that they went after him first was they wanted to hit the highest light on the Christmas tree. Get the start top, Senate Majority Leader, boom. What'd you do with this $1.184 million? Where'd it come from?
Is this a nonpartisan group that's doing it and are?
Oh, no, you've got, there are two ultra partisans involved. On the Democrat side, you've got Act Blue, which is the Democrats' main fundraising, and then Win
The
Red.
investigators, the people that are taking this up, are they nonpartisan or are they Republicans or Democrats?
Oh, I'm sure there's some of both, from what I understand.
But it's
main
O'Keefe is doing it.
Yeah,
Right?
well, O'Keefe is one of them, but then there's another guy by the name of Pete. Oh God, what's his name? And he's actually the one that has filed the complaint.
Okay.
He runs an operation called electionwatch.info. And he is, I've had several online conversations back and forth with him.
There's a lot of
blew me
people
away.
trying to expose the truth and let people know what's really going on in the background.
Yeah, well, the big thing is,
Yes.
the big thing is, the concern is that if there's foreign money coming into U.S. elections,
Absolutely.
where is, what is, I'm sorry, I don't think that, that Zelensky's actually writing checks just because he likes people in the U.S. government.
Well,
Not
Trump
that I
did
would point out anybody in particular that we know is laundering money back into our campaigns, but
it. Trump was back in his election.
Think about it. I mean, if we've given them what, $100 and some odd billion?
230 is the last number I
Don't
heard.
tell me somebody's not money laundering some
Well,
things back,
you
but
bet.
we
Well-
gotta prove it. We just can't go around accusing it and saying it and, all that kind of stuff. We gotta dig down deep and find the details where they can't back out of it, which is exactly what we talked about last week with nailing down Hobart on, are we working with ICE? Are we helping them? Are we doing this? What are, I think
I
the
got an
answer is
answer.
no. But I'm like, before, when Biden was in office, the excuse and the thing I always heard was, well,
They don't care.
But, well, it's the feds and they don't care and we can't, it's our hands are tied. You've got a president now that will probably, if you got your hands are tied, just go tell Holman or what's her name or Trump, say, hey, this is what this will untie our hands so we can get rid of the 100 and some odd thousand illegals in this, in South Carolina, or the 15 or 35 or 50,000 they say are here in Greenville. But I'm like, I don't think Hobart and a lot of politicians want to touch the illegal immigrants, if they, they just don't
Well, they
want
lose
to.
their human trafficking dollars if they do that.
There's that piece, which we got to prove and all that kind of stuff. We got to figure out, it's people like cheaper labor. They, businesses like, if I'm a business and I got 20, if they've allowed in 10, 20%, people into our country, that's 10 or 20% more customers. And if I got a business that benefits from people at that level, coming in and buying stuff for my business, I don't really care. I mean, that's the, what they do. They're more worried about their bottom line and their business than they are worried about the country.
Mhm.
And I think with all of this stuff, and I'm gonna ask Deborah to give us an update on the planning commission. Hopefully you might have some interesting things. But I'm like, all of this is about putting sunshine on what's going on. We want to know what's going on in the financial side of it. We've spent a lot of time trying to teach people about the political manipulation and the lies that go on in regards to social media and all this kind of stuff. Nobody is who they say they are. Number one, especially the politicians, most of them will look you in the eye and lie to you about stuff. We're getting some that are a little bit better, and that I hope
Go
longer
longer
term.
senator from the state of North Carolina.
Yes, but I mean, that's what we're trying to get to, but we need more regular citizens. And if y'all saw the email we sent out this morning from the Greenville GOP, and it was a letter written by Mike Kilgore, who's running in Greenville City District 2, saying why he stood up to run. Why Deborah stood up to, get involved with the planning commission. We've got to get on boards and commissions. We got to get regular people running for office. We got to get, there's a whole bunch of, and Jerry's doing it too. There's a whole bunch of fire commissions, out there. Get out and run for fire commission. We needed one in one area, and we called up one of our ECs, one of our folks, not an EC, but another person in leadership, and said, "Hey, we need somebody to run, for fire. Do you know anybody, or will you do it?" And I said, "Okay, I'll do it." But I mean, there's 20 of those spots. There's 6 municipalities. The Greenville's already taken up because it was partisan. You had to register back in March. But I mean, next Friday at noon is the deadline for registering in the 5 other municipalities: Travelers Rest, Greer, Fountain Inn, Malden, and Simpsonville. So they're all up and open, and it's a quick race. It's from here to November. I guess we got early voting in October, and we're going to focus a lot on early voting, but we got to get people involved in it. Yes.
Can you clarify 2 questions for me? One is Nancy Mace. She was asked directly about supporting ICE, and to me, skirted around it. Didn't say I'll back up.
I think she actually was on the ground with us already.
Oh yeah, I've seen her in pictures.
Okay, so she'll support the president.
Yeah.
I would think so.
deputize our sheriffs
Yes.
and all that.
I've seen her wearing, some of the get up. Maybe it's a photo op. I don't really know, but
And the
I
other,
Chris
gotta
Maloney
think.
to her.
yes.
and the other issue is Stone. Is he blocking the president
Yes.
recess
No. Well,
appointments? Recess
He
appointments?
should have. I believe he should have called a hard recess. I
Yeah.
agree.
Yes.
But the real problem right now is the maneuvering that the Democrats in the Senate are using the rules of the Senate, where they're making used to be when you had nominees and say there were 7 lower level people for the State Department that had to be confirmed. Well, they'd run them through as a group. No, the Democrats now are requiring at least 2 hours of discussion, and they're voting on them one at a time. So rather than being able to do, in some cases, they were doing 20 in 15 minutes. It's now taking 3 days to do those same 20 nominations. I think-
We've seen sometimes where they have 3 people sitting at those desks. So
Yeah.
now they're, that's what you're saying.
But it's a stall tactic. The one thing that we need to, and I wasn't aware of this till I was trying to think who was talking about it yesterday, but they're actually almost 100 approvals ahead right now of where they were at this point in Trump's first term, as far as people that have been confirmed.
They should do them all. They should
Well,
have
that's why-
stayed up there or did a hard recess and then come back and finish them later, whatever they got
Well,
to
they
do.
could, if they
or
did a
reaffirm
hard
them.
recess, and he could have done recess appointments, which would have been in place without confirmation for a year.
Exactly.
But could they, in that 1 year period, go ahead and reaffirm
Oh, yeah.
them?
Yeah,
So,
that's the
They
thing
give them a
is-
year to do it, yeah.
But we did get Judge Janine, so we're winning.
We got Judge Janine, which is quite interesting, and that other one, that Third Circuit judge.
Yeah.
What's his
Bover,
Bove,
yeah.
Bove, yeah. He just looks like a guy the Democrats wouldn't want to see sitting up there on the.
Well, he's got quite a history of some very solid conservative rulings or constitutional rulings.
Now, Judge Janine, she's in the
DC.
Washington,
She is
DC
DC.
area as Attorney General.
Yeah.
She's the
Wow,
U.S.
that's
attorney.
The U.S. attorney for the
Okay.
District for the District of Columbia. Yes.
That's what I thought.
And there was the other guy that they tried to get through. He wasn't going to work
Ed
because
Martin.
of the J6 stuff that he had said or done.
Who is now a special assistant to Pam Bondi, and he is absolutely taking stuff apart.
Right.
So my way of thinking is that if Janine Pirro is a U.S. attorney in the District of Columbia and Trump's threatening to take federalize District of Columbia, he's in a win-win situation.
Oh, yeah, well, bottom line is, it's not a matter of threat. The president has the true legal constitutional authority because, and it's the only city in the country where he can do it.
He's threatening to exercise his authority.
Correct.
Yes.
Well, up until 1975, the District of Columbia was totally controlled.
And
So-
back to your question about Nancy Mace and ICE, Ola found this. Nancy Mace posted on January 31st. It's a picture of her wearing, some ICE vest or something like that. But the other half of the screen is Alan Wilson. I guess he was on Newsmax. Her comment was, I was out on an ice. Oh, sorry, I lost it. I was out on an ice raid this morning. You were on TV talking about it. We are not the same. So some of that stuff is for show. We all kind of get that. I understand it, accept it to a certain
Your
extent.
governor's race is going to be a very
Our
interesting.
Our governor's race is going to be a whole lot of fun. This is going to be the most fun that I think we've all experienced in a June primary next year. We got some work to do between now and November. We got our municipalities and our fire commissions and all that kind of stuff. But I'm telling you, next June is going to be wide open because what they're doing, and they're talking our talk. I mean, this is stuff we've been saying for years and years and years. And now all of a sudden you got the Nancy Maces, the Pascos, and all that kind of, and, we've seen, the only statewide leader we've had that's been willing to say and do a lot of that stuff has been Curtis Loftus. And look at what they tried to do to him.
Yep.
And who tried to do it? It was Goldfinch, who's now running for Attorney General. We really wanted an Attorney General who's going to, who did what he tried to do to Curtis Loftus. And Larry Grooms, the state senator out of Berkeley. So, I mean, that's how they normally quash this stuff in the old days. In the old days, before we kind of got involved, they would, humiliate you publicly. They come after you, your business and your everything they do. They try to divide you up as a married couple, all those types of things. Well, the difference is we didn't quit. We didn't quit 4 years ago. We're not quitting, and Olga and I, we had the additional motivation of the fact that we've seen how nasty, dirty, and financially what they did to kids, K-12 kids with special needs and school choice. So that gave us the internal fortitude to keep pushing along. Most people would have quit and said, I'm out of here. I mean, I like Florida. I mean, we used to go to Florida 6 months out of the year,
No,
hang
you
out.
don't. No, you don't.
I used to, the older I get, the colder I get. So, I got to go further and further south. But I'm like, we used to do that all the time. We used to go on cruises, 4, 6, 8 weeks a year. We don't do it anymore because, we're here wanting to fight this fight and we're getting more and more people involved in it. That's why I'm so happy to see some of the people stepping up for some of these fire commission races and municipal races and all that kind of stuff. So, and since the volume was not working when we showed Jerry's ad in the Simpsonville Sentinel, Jerry's running for Ward 6. But I will tell you, there's some other races. The other person's picture right here is Taft Matney. He's a lobbyist. He's on the Malden. He will be up for election. He's on Malden City Council. I don't know which ward or whatnot it is, but Taft is a lobbyist. And I've seen he lobbies on behalf of Ellen Weaver and all those guys down in Columbia, fighting us on school choice and lobbying for the government-run school choice solution. So he's not helping kids out anywhere there, being honest about it. But he's also a lobbyist for a couple of the fire districts up here in Greenville. I'm told that's where he got his start. But his big client, I think he got $23,500 last year with the Greenville Chamber of Commerce.
Your tax dollars at work.
It's getting funneled back to you
Chamber of
somehow.
Commerce is actually a private entity.
Okay.
They get funneled back somehow.
Oh, they get some.
So, but I mean, that's the type of stuff, do people know Taft is a lobbyist for the Chamber of Commerce. Is the Chamber of Commerce coming to the table to talk to us? I mean, and this is back to what we talked about last week with the Hobart stuff. And, we got to box these people into a corner and show the proof. We can't just accuse Thune of something, which you can obviously file a complaint, but we got to find it and get the proof and say, hey, this is the person that didn't give them $3,500, but it shows up in the record, said he did. Then we got to ask for the refund and see if he can get his $3,500 back, or get Ukraine's $3,500 back, or whatever. Really, which is our
It's our
money.
tax
Which
dollars
is,
in the
well,
first place.
the Ukraine thing has been done, and this is something that you don't actually hear it reported this way, but this is what happens. We're not actually giving money to Ukraine. We're giving money to U.S. arms manufacturers who are then giving supposedly the arms to Ukraine that are bought with this money.
Mhm.
But that makes it where it's a lot easier to funnel it back into our politicians because it's from people who work for the U.S. arms manufacturers.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, there was a list that popped up one day, I can't remember this week or last week, of the number of people that work for McDonnell, one of the major,
Lockheed Martin.
Yeah, one of those.
Douglas or.
and there were like
Raytheon.
17,000 of their employees that were on this one contribution list.
Well, they have to divide it by enough people.
Yeah. But, you know, hey, everybody's going to get $100 bonus in their check, and now this is what you're going to do with it.
And some of the, obviously a lot of these contracts are pretty high margin business. They make a lot of profit off of them. So, you get a $20 million contract or $20 billion contract, and half of it's profit because you've already done
Because it's
all
government
the
work.
R&D and government work and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, you're willing to, incentivize your employees to donate to stuff. But, and I know Deborah ran away from us. I don't know. Yeah. What we're working to do, and what last night on our legislative committee meeting had, we had one person who sits on Simpsonville City Council is part of our legislative committee. And that's what we're looking at with some of the other things. Think of Malden and Travis. Imagine if we had one of our folks on each of those 6. We talk about it in trying to get somebody to go to the meeting. And it's tough to get somebody to go to the meeting and sit through the meeting and give us the notes and give us the lowdown. That's kind of step 1. But step 2 is to get somebody actually on the board and commission, right, or actually elected to the position. I would like to, and I've got to reach out to Benton and those guys. And I told him I was going to reach out to him about it. But, somebody to give us an update on what they're doing at county council. But what we do have is somebody on the planning commission for Greenville County, Deborah Manning, and if you would like to give us, I know you had maybe a little update about what was going on there.
They do planning in Greenville?
They used to do just rubber stamping. I don't think it's rubber stamping
No,
anymore.
baby, it is no longer rubber stamping. Okay? They were crazy enough to elect me as the vice chair.
Oh, very good, very good. Congrats.
And of course, I was asked numerous times, why do you keep voting no? Why do I keep voting no? When the developers maybe get a clue that this is not Greenville City, this is the county, and we're different. I did that same speech when I was reappointed. I filled in for 1 year an unassigned seat, and Benton was able to get me in on that because it was under District 19. The gentleman had to leave for his reserve duty. So they were able to get me in on just 2 or 3 words. I was able to get in, but.
Before they knew who you were.
Yes.
The key is getting reelected.
Well, the interesting thing was that I got 10 of the 12 votes when I went up for reappointment.
Okay.
And I ended up calling every one of the county councilmen, and I asked them to please call me back. Some of the people who called me back, I was stunned. I was shocked as to who would call me back. And they were asking me, how come there's so many no's? How come? I said, you have to understand. I'm from California. I have seen the devastation. I do not want this to happen to my adopted state and my adopted county. I want you to be very, very clear about that. And it was interesting because at the last planning and development meeting, a couple of council members I was told that I was a meddler. Yes. Yes, Mr. Dan Tripp said, stop your meddling. And then.
You're doing your job. You're asking your questions. It's not meddling.
That's right. And he came back, and then the classic photo of Dan Tripp looking up at me, going like this. And I'm standing with my hands behind me. There was no way I'm going to give him any opportunity. But the bottom line was, it was very, very clear as to what he was doing. And I told them, you've just committed political suicide. I said, you are not listening to the people back behind here. Do you not understand this? Well, you have not. I said, no, I'm an outsider from here. Do you not understand what you are doing? Do you not understand these voices here? Well, blah, 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 blah. Fine, suit yourself. Have a good time, buddy boy. I did call him buddy boy, sorry.
But that didn't show up in the pictures.
No, it didn't show up in the pictures.
But realize that goes back to what we always said, we have to be professional in everything that we do.
Right.
She could not sit there, I mean, Dan Tripp lost it, pointing his
He
finger and doing all this, but you know,
Really?
that's
You-
where you're
you
putting the
saw it.
pressure
You
on.
saw it, didn't you?
Yeah, I saw it,
Yeah.
yeah. But I mean, we have to remain professional, we have to do it the right way, we all, you know, be professional and what's my, I don't know my full saying about that.
Well, you can still be passionate, but this emotionalism, you've got to stop it.
Right.
Honestly, because they're not listening. In fact, it was funny, when I was offered a bribe, okay? And they said, well, everybody's gonna come at you and they're all gonna be wearing red shirts and all of this. And I said, what seems to be the problem with red t-shirts? Well, they're this and they're and this and such and so and this and that. And I said, you just asked me to commit a crime, to accept a bribe. Do you not understand why I buy my own cup of coffee? And he was like, but we're friends. I said, uh-huh. And I said, I will be friendly enough to look at your subdivision and make a decision on it. The next day, I called the individual back, called the individual back, and I said, I know you know, I just voted no. He says, I can't believe you're calling me. And I said, I'm calling you because I'm civilized. This is the reason that I voted no. And this is the reason my coalition voted no. The reason is reduce the number of units. You clearly understand what we're talking about. It's too dense to be in farmland, in pasture land. It's too dense. This was Owens. Owens came back for approval again. And what was interesting about it is we had two county councilmen, one that was friendly towards me, one that hates my guys, not Dan Tripp, but one that hates my guys. What was interesting is we listened to the presentation and then they asked for questions, what have you, and I asked a couple of different questions, of course. And finally, and this is what got me on Fox News is, I said, this is a great development, but not here. That was the key point. And Fox News carried that. And I basically said, I have physically gone out to this location. I have looked at the farmlands, the pasture lands. I have looked and spoken with the surrounding neighbors. And this is too dense for the area. Now, interestingly enough, we are fighting a battle, which is to allow us to be able to regain what was called 3.1. 3.1 in the land development rules and regulations allowed us to have some discernment, some subjectivity. The UDO, which is the Unified Development Ordinance, they're trying to pass that on through. 623 pages filled with landmines. Because who was it developed by? The person, T. Koger, who's now left to be in Fountain Inn. Rashida Campbell, nice enough lady, but also has her own company that would have benefited greatly if the UDO had passed. I've gone through all 623 pages. And once again, I'm learning too, but there are landmines in there. And I've asked at this point right now, stop it. We're about ready to have a workshop on the 21st, talking about the 5-year plan and open space. And at this point right now, staff is underneath, not us, Joe Cornell. And the problem is that we can't get information from the staff. We're working on that now. We had a great meeting. You can attest to that. We had a community meeting with Benton, and we talked about some of the battles that we are winning. And we are winning those battles. What's interesting is when Fox Carolina says density is a problem in this particular area, that is now being heard on the airwaves. Technically speaking.
Because they're hearing our voice too.
Right.
Fox News used to only hear the other side. They never heard our side. So they just reported it and they didn't know any different, whether it would be nefarious or not. I don't know. But now they're hearing the other side. And now they're putting that out there, which is good for us.
Yeah, and but what's interesting about it is, and I was also chastised, you can't use density as a reason. And I said, this again, we're working on this. I said to Benton and all the council members, I said, we've got to have the ability to be able to look at density, how it is corresponding with the surrounding neighborhoods. We have to be able, I can't even talk about price points. Brandon Mill has a 45-foot, 8-unit condo complex, which I voted no against. $680,000 to be smack dab among houses that are priced between $150,000 to $225,000. What is that going to do to the property taxes of those owners? And it's designed to get rid of those owners. And I'll tell you, so long as I'm on the planning commission, no. We're looking for common sense developers, and that's how I was managed to get my 4 years again. So I want common sense developers, people that are going to be looking at preserving the integrity, the quality of life here in Greenville County. And that means fewer units. Stop putting us back to back and belly to belly. We need to be able to have some breathing space. And I've gone out to a couple of different subdivisions that have done it right. For example, one over here at Twin Lakes off Wade Hampton and Pleasantburg. It's in the city. It was a tiny, tiny little splitter of land. But what the developer did was put a huge green space in the middle so that people could play baseball, volleyball. They had fire pits, and everything is looking towards, in terms of everybody looking towards, from their living rooms, towards the green space. On the outside, they have put garages. So everybody on the outside, you go into your garage, you go into your home, and you're actually looking at green space, and you're looking at your neighbors. It's called a neighborhood. That's what it's called.
What a unique idea.
That's it.
Yeah.
When I called the developer said, "Who the heck are you?" I said, "I'm the planning commission. Why are you calling me?" I said, "I'm calling you to commend you." She said, "What? To commend me?" And I said, "Did you have anything to do with this design?" She says, "Yeah, I was looking to make a neighborhood." And I said, "Well, you did it. You did it." So we keep talking in the planning commission, reduce the units, increase the amount of open space. Do you realize that open space, roads can be counted as open space? Do you realize that retention ponds can be counted as open space? We are changing it now so that open space means open space. That means that you can recreate. And once again, because they took away 3.1, and we're trying to get it back now to the Enabling Act. The Enabling Act says you have to have dedicated open space that is designed for recreation.
Right.
For having people be able to commune as neighbors. All of that we need to have come back. And then I'm working directly with a number of different people in very private meetings to get it taken care of.
That's always my point. I mean, people have talked about a moratorium. I'm like, I'm cool with moratorium. If that's what, it will shock the other side into realizing they've got to come to the table. Once they come to the table, then we can have reasonable conversations about it. We're looking for a reasonable, positive, I hate to say the word progressive, but a growth plan that's out there, as opposed to just, oh, Katie bar the door, everybody from out of state's coming here because they know that they can fool the dumb local yokels here in Greenville, South Carolina, county or city, into doing and doing whatever they want to do to make as much profit as they want to make.
So the amount of pressure that we as planning commissioners had, unbelievable. With the Harkness group, and I announced this to P&D, because Harkness was coming up and complaining about the fact that we hadn't done this, we hadn't did this. I said, I finally asked Rick Bradley, and I wasn't supposed to, but I walked on up and I went, okay. He says, you got 3 minutes. I did it in 2.5 minutes, which I basically said the amount of pressure that we had with emails, telephone calls, and I said, and ironically enough, one planning commissioner who decided to have a private conversation with not one, not two, not three, but 4 of the Harkness group decided to change her vote.
Well,
Interesting.
Yes. It was terrible. And that sort of behavior, they've finally now taken away the telephone numbers, because the number of phone calls I was getting from developers was just unbelievable. They've left now our our Greenville County emails. So I'm getting constant emails. But the pressure that we have is unbelievable. Cool thing though is we do have a coalition. And I'm here to tell you the good news. Because we have Ken whatever, I can't remember. I'm sorry, Ken. He's not here. Anyway,
That's why I like
Ken
having the name Jeff Davis. It's very easy.
Thank you.
Everybody spell it. Everybody.
Yeah. and
I
Corey,
understand that.
Corey
Guy
Hartman.
Smith, yes.
Those were two of the individuals I had a chance to interview prior to my appointment, my 4-year appointment. And I listened to what they had to say. They are solidly with us, solidly. And I call them before meetings and after meetings. And of course, the chairman's not all that happy about it, but I'm your vice chair, so I gotta make sure that the little chicklings are feeling good. But they vote with us at this point right now, and they clearly understand what they need to do. I'm appealing to all of you, come to the planning commission meetings. A lot of people say, thank you for your service, thank you very much. But the best thing you can do is to come to the planning commission meetings. I have to tell you how much it intimidates, and I use the word intimidates, the staff, when you have a full cadre of people that are there.
Watchers.
Yes. And I actually have my husband positioned out there to listen. And he is listening to the public as well. If you have any qualms about how to handle commissions or boards or what have you, please let me know. I'm a former investigative news reporter. So I do know what I'm talking about. And I can give you some very, very basic things. It was funny because somebody asked me, well, why wasn't I on TV? I said, you're not on TV because you don't know how to talk in voice bites. It's very simple.
And I've seen one of your old pictures when you were doing that
Oh.
newspaper investigating and all that stuff. So that's cool.
Yeah.
It's very
And I was a private investigator, and my best people win. My best investigators were women. Sorry, gentlemen.
Commission meeting.
Doesn't surprise me.
I beg your pardon? It's the fourth Wednesday of every month. The other thing we're gonna try and do, as vice chair, I'm gonna be asking, instead of starting at 4:30, which is a ridiculous time, I think we need to start at 6 o'clock in the evening. That, of course, will be wholly hell to pay. But 6 o'clock gives us all enough time for everybody to be able to get in.
Grab a sandwich.
No, it's 4:30 at this point right now. I'm gonna be making the motion this next meeting.
Y'all have it at the Golden Palace. down
At the
there.
Golden Palace, the Crystal Cathedral, yes. Yeah.
We kind of follow the planning commission a lot because our friend Dan Harvell over in Anderson has been in it. He was actually elected chair, didn't get reelected this time because even though he had the votes, it's a whole long story about it. But I mean, if you think it's bad here in Greenville, which I do think it is, we have just heard a lot of stories about what goes on in Anderson, because if you think you're getting pressure, I think Anderson being a little bit kind of behind, not in an insulting way, but just there's a lot of growth in building out there, a lot of pressure to get, communities, big sprawling communities approved. So it's a problem, and the other side knows what they're doing
They do.
because they're getting paid to do it, right?
They are.
And it's all the profit. It's just, all that kind of stuff. But what Deborah's doing, which I think is fantastic, she's looking at it from a very scientific, non-emotional, figure out how to win this. Don't just sit in there and say, I think something's wrong and I'm mad. I'm going to beat on the table and yell and scream and wear a red shirt or whatever, to kind of get some people all riled up. Go in there and box them in a corner and figure out how this and push it to get it to where it is. There's a lot of people, and I talked to our folks statewide about it. I don't necessarily want to work with or like talking to or dealing with. But I'm like, they're now in an elected GOP leadership or even elected, government, or elected official position. We've got to work with them, until we take them out, right? And, so we work with them, and they're like, well, why are you working with that person? Well, I'm like, that person is chair of XYZ County. We got to deal with them. So there is some of that that's going on. And I will get, and why I kind of bring that out is because Ken, and I can't pronounce his last name, Mastovich, I think,
Yeah.
but Ken is an old guard guy. Ken is a nice. I think Ken probably. You look at. I think he probably still trashes me to this day. I don't know. I've looked, but I'm like, Ken was not necessarily a friend of ours, but a lot of them, even in the old guard, support what we're doing. It's just they couldn't get past the emotion of, oh, they called us a rhino. I'm like, I've never called Ken, or I don't know anything about Ken. But, you know, and I will tell you how it originally started back in 2021 is a couple women in the Greenville County Republican Women's Club sat there and accused Presley Stubbs of calling them all rhinos. And it's
I
like,
remember that.
yeah, and it was funny. They actually wrote a letter and signed it. I'm like, we call them all rhinos. And I'm like, what do you, where? And then it's just perpetrated itself. And that got all the other women mad at us. And it just never stopped. And it's really hurt the conservative cause. I think we're getting past all that. We're moving forward. You know, I got no problem calling somebody a rhino if they're a rhino, but I don't call random humans rhinos.
But the one thing I think that you really bring up is, and it's very important, work within the system.
Right.
Work within the system. And it's very interesting as you start to drill down, as I'm looking at the LDRs, and I'm drilling down the 150 pages of the LDRs, which is the land development regulations. There'll be a little paragraph here. Oh my goodness, I can use that. And I'm able to use that. You've got to be able to use the system, because I'll tell you, it drives them crazy.
Yes.
It drives them nuts. We were able to get CNN off the main TV screens of the library. They put us off 3, 4, 5 months. Finally, when we got in, thank you, when we finally got in, we were given 3 minutes. I knew exactly. We typed it out. My husband did the hot head. I did the cool head. And we did it on a piece of white paper, all nicely typed out. We had timed it to the second. He did the hot head. I did the cool head. Which one? I took his paper, my paper, and I passed it over to the secretary, and I said, this needs to be part of the public record. And she looked at those sheets and went, oh no, she knows the system. Yes, we know the system.
There's always something, and we used to do it on the tax side. We would see tax bills coming through the feds, and, you know, things to benefit our clients in the old days. And we're like, this little sentence, we change this one little word, this is going to help us out. We're going to save millions of dollars, and that's how we're going to justify our pay. And I kind of always thought it was okay because it was us fighting the IRS. But, you know, this is developers fighting the citizens to make not a better Greenville County, but to make more profit for themselves, which, you know, bothers me, you know, pretty hot about that type of stuff.
And they're not beyond offering bribes.
Yeah, right.
And it was amazing to me to look on this other individual's face when I would not accept the bribe. It was like, what? And I said, well, I have a budget. We live by our budget. So it means I'm financially independent, okay? I don't need to drive a million Mercedes. How many Mercedes do I need to drive? None.
And that was going to be my next kind of point. You've seen it because you've been in California. You see what it's done. A lot of people that have moved here said, I came to Greenville for a particular reason. I saw this in the other areas. I come here and I'm like, oh my God, this is starting over. It's here too. How do I get involved? And a lot of y'all are from out of state. Here's another California guy, out of state, you know, and kind of doing that. But the second thing the point was going to be, how's this affecting your business? It doesn't. If you're independently, you know, and do you want another Mercedes? I'm driving on the truck because I don't want to, you know, pay the taxes on a new one or the insurance, all this. But I'm like, you know, you can't buy us. We need people that can't be bought, you know, and frankly, you know, some of these bribes and, you know, blackmails and things I hear about are somewhat minimal and not even that much money. It's like,
they're a lot of money, my dear.
well, they can't be even yours because there's a lot of problems. But it's like in other ones, I'm like, you sold out for $1,000 donation or for this, that. I mean, I'm just like, it amazes me. But there's a lot, and I will tell you, just on the planning side of it, and Deborah made the great point. Work within the system, know the law, read the actual documents, figure it out. A buddy of mine who's an engineer lives in Simpsonville. They didn't like a neighborhood that they were wanting to build or some infill or something. He read the stuff. He's a very technical guy. He's an old roommate of mine from college. Very technical, read the stuff. He's like, oh, well, they have to do all of this. Is all the handicap kind of road stuff that they had to do. And he's like, that's going to cost them so much money. They're going to be underwater in this development. He brought it up. Nobody else was going to bring it up. He brings it up, and it killed the development. The developer's like, well, that there's my profit potential.
Well, the other thing that was very interesting is that there was a development that came through, and they actually went to the county council, and they beat their chest about this particular development. I went on a tour to look at the development because I wanted to see what was there. Interestingly enough, we started to ask some questions as they were coming to the final vote. I looked over to my buddy John Holland, who was just a former planning commissioner for Greer. And he said, you know what's really funny? He says, I wonder. And I said, what do you wonder about? He says, I wonder if the soil is contaminated. And I said, go for it.
It's an easy.
So he asked the question, and then of course I asked the question, so is that the reason that you're not able to sell these units, that you have to rent them? And the person that was standing there was one of the two developers. Suddenly his brother, who was the second partner, come running up and said, well, let me explain this whole thing. I said, so let me get this straight. I'm a little confused. You're telling me that all these units cannot be sold? They have to be rented? Is that because the soil is contaminated? There was a, yeah. I said, so let the record show the soil is contaminated. Okay. So the other thing that was very interesting about that was we basically had only 10 minutes to be able to look at this whole thing. The other thing that was interesting was the staff had not asked the question. So we're constantly having to fight against the staff to do our own investigation. As I say, I go to every one of these subdivisions. And we finally, although I'm not paid, finally got mileage. So
Very good.
I'm very happy to get mileage.
And it's a big deal.
No,
I
it
mean,
is.
I think about where we drive. We don't get mileage from the Greenville GOP, and I'm like, we're driving a whole lot to go look at things, and I'm like, I wish I could just get my mileage. You know?
Yeah. No, but you need to literally have boots on the ground. You need to go out there and take a look at things. And I don't understand why we don't have more planning commissioners, although I will be talking to my two new buddies and saying, you need to go out there, you need to breathe the air, you need to talk to people, you need to get an idea as to what they want to do with this particular piece of land. And once again, we're not trying to stop development. We just want common sense development that actually reveres people, newcomers, that is welcoming to newcomers, but respectful for the people who are already here, who are smart enough to be here or born here.
Yes. That's why the talk of a moratorium is really just to scare them, to bring them to the table.
And it is.
Same thing is the talk about that we did, with reorg, and the talk about having a caucus system. It was not because we wanted a caucus system or we wanted to disclose primaries, and we needed to bring them to the table.
Yeah.
And some people knew, oh, we don't want to talk about that. It's funny that some people who don't want to even play the game and talk about a moratorium, where do they really fall out?
We're
same-
finding out.
Yes, and it's very interesting, and it's that's why I tell everybody watches TV and follows what goes on in DC and what Thune is doing. It's one thing to talk about Thune and laundering money back and all that kind of stuff through WinRed and all that. Wait till you find out one of your local people did it.
Right.
Or you find out that, this local person who was on the planning commission also happened to have an investment in this particular deal.
Or
And
it's
just-
getting a listing money for
Yes.
example, the transit, the new transit. Ironically enough, one of our planning commissioners is getting probably has already received a $300,000 listing fee for selling the transit.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
That's the type of data and things you need to dig deep, figure out. A lot of it we can figure out on our own. Sometimes it's helpful if somebody points us in the right direction, those types of things. What I love, and we got David Pasco coming here, and I encourage everybody to come. It's a big deal on August 19th because he's the one guy, he names names. He puts the thing up there and says, this person did this, here's the evidence, here's the information, and look what happened to them. Nothing. They served in jail, nothing, happened. And that's what that's where we're getting. And this is not something we had in the old days.
But
And
what
it
can
is,
actually be done is you can file an ethics complaint against certain individuals for acts such as that. You have to have the evidence, but you can file it with the state and they do investigations.
Yeah.
The other thing that's very interesting is that your lifetime enemy needs to become at least a talking partner of some sort. I'm not particularly a fan, and sorry, please don't quote me, but Ennis Fant basically couldn't stand me, okay? What was interesting about it was at the end of a planning and development meeting, he came directly up to me, looked me in the eye and said, what are we gonna do about Owens Glen? And I said, you tell me, buddy boy, you tell me. And he says, well, but I said, you have taken all of our power, all of our authority away. Do you understand that? Do you understand that they can basically go right over the top of us and put this development in? I said, and how do your constituents feel about that? And he was like, so, and then Chairman Bickle said that we need to have 3.1 back in. We need to have the power and the authority to say enough is enough. And it was interesting because all of a sudden you could see things turn. So suddenly a quote unquote enemy suddenly goes, wait a minute. He was there during the decision. He was in the front seat along with Rick Bradley. I'm buds with Rick Bradley. As I say, Ennis could just hate my guts. But I gotta tell you, once we got the no vote, we got it secured, I walked out to be able to just get some fresh air because it was a pretty tense meeting, to be honest with you. Who was standing out there waiting for me? Rick Bradley was, which I expected. Ennis Fant. And Ennis Fant looked at me straight in the eyes, put his hand out like this. He said, thank you. So a sworn enemy, and once again, if we have common ground, can settle it. And he said, you were right. I said, so I need your vote to get back the power that we need to say. I said, I went out on a limb on this thing. And I said, I need your vote. And he looked at me and said, okay, you got it.
And this is why they call it politics.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why they call it politics. And we've got to come here, and that's why next Barry, I'd like you to give a little update.
I got a question.
Yes, go ahead.
How does the planning commission have any say on the city of Greenville annexing currently county property?
You will not believe,
Because right now they want to annex the bus terminal.
you will not
That's
believe.
$40 million sitting there.
You will not believe this. But there was a little clause in the Greenville Water District. The Greenville Water District, the very last line says, if you allow us to hook up to our water,
Yeah, it's one connecting line and it goes to Cherrydale. That's the only way they're getting the city to annex the bus terminal up here.
and you allow us to be able to have permission to annex your property.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
And all the bus
Now let
terminal
that sink
people,
in.
Yes.
Let
are all
that sink
city
And
in.
there's
employees.
something like that also tied in with, I don't know what it's called now, they keep changing names, but there used to be a clause just like that related to Western Carolina Regional Sewer Authority.
Because those are the other things that are out there, these authorities that we don't really know. They're not elected, they're
Nobody pays
appointed.
attention to it.
Yeah, and they're all heavily funded and all that kind of jazz.
And they're all owned by regional councils.
Yes, these regional councils and all that kind of stuff.
all the employees
Well,
at
like I
Greenville
say,
Transit
any of these
is
utilities
considered
have
city
this clause.
employees. They do the HR, they do the hiring, and they do the payroll.
That's such an encouraging report that she gave.
But that's the type of report, and I don't know if you got more you want to give with it, but that's the type of stuff we need people sitting on there. She feels
Yes.
more empowered because she's on the board. She has to go to the meetings already. It's not like,
Of
oh,
course, yes.
yeah, I mean, as opposed to, and she gets mileage. I didn't know you were
Yeah.
bought and paid for with the mileage.
That mileage really
I'm
kicks
making
in.
a mint on that.
That's right. Like you drove up in that new shiny car.
Yeah, really.
But I mean, that actually, and I kind of always thought we would just have people go and watch me, but I'm like, let's get some people on there who can give real life, not only because they sit there and see what goes on from outside, but they're in the, I hate to say in the club, but I mean, they
In the
hear
middle
the
of it.
conversations that go on in the back and about what goes on and help point the direction. And that's why I gave Benton, kind of credit with
Yeah.
the email update that he does. I mean, he's on there. He's not promoting it or putting stuff out there
Informative.
that's confidential. It's all subject to FOIA and it's all public, stuff. If you know where to go look for it and find it.
And once again, the point you bring out in terms of being on these bureaus, these commissions and all of that, the stuff you find out is fascinating. I'm also crazy enough to make me the vice chair of the Sheriff's Community Response
Congratulations on that.
Council.
Yes.
And I'll get a chance to be able, I would like to talk to you about some of the questions you have for the sheriff.
Right. And we just want them answered.
Well,
It
he supposedly said that all of our sheriffs will be working directly with ICE.
We'll find out. I mean, because that's, here's the Sheriff's Association, South Carolina Sheriff's Association. I mean, that's, we're wanting to ask Copart the question. We want to ask these guys. We want to find out why are we not doing what it apparently shows that they're doing in Florida. Florida has done a lot of things, but they continue, the things I've seen out there, they continue to ramp up, deputize people, all that type of stuff. And if we have 100 and some odd thousand people in this state that shouldn't be here, do the job.
Well, I think there was a lot of
What do you
political,
need?
I think there was a lot of political pressure, and I think, which is fine, which is perfectly fine. And I think that press release came out the last couple of days, but we have a meeting with the sheriff coming up, and we get a chance to find out.
And that's, and what I try to say is, we have assumptions, but we're not sure until we actually go ask them. And sometimes you ask them and box them in a corner, and they're telling you one thing and telling somebody else a thing, but we got it written down, documented, and confirmed.
But that's how we make changes.
Or we
That's-
find out we're wrong.
Yeah, and that's why I'm here to tell you, there is great news. Some of the things that each and every one of you are doing, you think, oh, it's nothing. It's huge.
Mhm.
It is huge getting people involved. I cannot tell you, pat yourselves on the head, because it is massive. I gotta tell you, when we fill up the chambers of the planning commission, you can see the staff's jaw drop, like, no. Oh,
And staff
no.
is normally who we're fighting. The
Oh,
real
yeah.
people we're fighting. Staff, whether it's here
county,
locally
city,
or down at the state
state
house, it's the staff people that it is the fourth administrative state, the fourth
Right.
branch of government. They're the ones doing it.
Running interference.
And the good ones, I gotta tell you, Benton is one of the great ones.
Mhm.
He's not just good, he's great. I gotta tell you, he writes, in fact, when you see that enormous newsletter that comes down, he says, I don't sit down there. He says, I write it basically daily. When I have a meeting, he says, I will write about this much, and I will just keep it going and keep it going. It's that sort of communication that suddenly you're empowered. And what Jeff and Olga, you guys are doing, are empowering you. We can do this.
Yes.
We must do this. We can do it, we must do it.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And Barry, you're on a commission too, right, sir? You got on it when
Greenville Transit last year.
Greenville Transit Authority. So you got on it last year. I think you had tried to get on it several times on something.
Yeah, I tried to get on the planning commission, but they wouldn't let me.
They wouldn't let you on there, but you finally got on the transit. And then, and you're seeing a lot of things. Is there anything you want to update kind of that? You hear the annexation
Well, like
thing?
the city of Greenville wants, because they used to be in the city. Well, now they're out there, that's $40 million
Right.
facility they got there. And they want to annex that into the city of Greenville, because all the bus drivers, everybody is considered a city employee. So they want to make it part of the city, because they do all the HR. And all their,
It
we've
doesn't
got an
mean any
argument right
money.
now on riders fees.
Right.
They don't want to raise it because they don't want to lose their, like I say, low income funding.
Right.
Because personally, I'd say 90% of their riders are low income. They're not commuters.
No, I agree with you. And
Yeah.
And under the UDO, they're supposed to be putting, these new developments supposed to be putting bus stops in them, but I haven't seen too many of them.
oh, really?
But yet they don't come out of the city. They stay they don't come out into the county. There's one run to Simpsonville, Small and Simpsonville, that's it. As far as they go up to is Furman and Travelers Rest, as far as they go north.
Interesting. And what you're talking about with their support for the low income and all that kind of the subsidies, I guess they give.
Yeah.
Is very similar to what I hear about goes on with the school system. I don't know if it's true or not, but I've heard this from multiple sources. Because you remember in the old days, you go to public school and some people, you get the tag where you get a discounted or free lunch.
Yeah.
They make more money off of reduced and free lunch than they do off of the people that actually pay for lunch.
And that's why almost all Greenville County schools give away lunch now.
Yeah, they ride on the bus,
Oh, it's in process.
but all these people, but everybody's got a cell phone.
Right.
And they just scan them
Oh, great.
and they're on the bus.
And it's low income, but you got a cell phone?
Yeah.
It's Obama phone.
No ball.
And some of the things I think that, I don't know if it's anything to do with me or not, but they were more or less buying the buses, like 5 years, and they trade them in, or 6 years. They're now reconditioning 9 motors, rebuilding them. Because driving a truck,
Cheaper
we
to
could
rebuild
rebuild
it
a
than
motor,
replace
truck
it.
will last
Yeah.
us 10 years.
Mhm.
So now they're starting to rebuild with 9 Cummins engines, gonna be rebuilding them, put them back in the extended life of the buses. And they got some new buses ordered. They got electric buses. They're flower plants.
Oh, flower pots, yeah. 'Cause
Yeah,
it-
they're
it's
sitting
not
there,
ready.
all of their buses don't run.
Right.
Are they gonna be
No
optional?
Why, and why are they not running? 'Cause
No
there's
parts.
No
Can't get parts for them.
Oh,
No
really?
more, no can't get
Because
no parts.
Proterra went out of business.
Okay.
Well, no, the company that bought the Proterra rights and equipment, they're going bankrupt.
Yep.
Now they got a new company that's supposed to be making new buses and they want to order, but you know how much one electric bus costs?
So much.
$1 million.
Wonder.
You know how much a diesel or, now they're getting natural gas buses? They're $750,000.
Jeez.
But we were paying $1 million for an electric bus. And
And it's-
Proterra they were South Carolina.
Proterra,
Yeah.
yeah.
They were
Oh,
South
they were right
Carolina.
up there on 85.
They were right there
And I
off
remember
85
when
and
they were talking
Malden.
about, like, this is never gonna work.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like,
Oldsdale, man, high school, right on that part of French Road.
it's all pretty
I had a
obvious.
neighbor,
And what I always
I
found
lived in
funny
Malden,
with
he
the
worked for
public
them.
school systems complaining about the ages of the bus, I'm like, they're complaining about buses being like 20 years old or 15 years. I'm like,
With
I'm like-
40,000 miles.
right? And I'm like,
And I get on a
I'm like,
plane
every
that was
vehicle we
built in
got is from the
1962.
mid-90s. So I'm like, I don't have much sympathy for
Or
an
get
old
on a
bus.
60-year-old 747 and fly some.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, it's
anybody
true.
wants
Look
to
at a
come to the
B-52.
meeting?
Our
They're
whole
I mean, they're
airline
75
fleet
years
is
old.
ancient.
A B-52.
Properly
that's
maintained.
75 years old.
Yeah,
They'll last
the
a
meetings
long
are, I know
I
it's
know, I used to do
that
it.
time for everybody, 12:30 to 4th Thursday of every month. And
Well,
when they
there's
ask-
a
when they
reason they
ask-
hold
when they
these
ask for
meetings at
speakers
those
come up,
times.
in the last 6 months, there've been 0.
Really?
Really?
Wow.
And there's almost like nobody except bus or city employees there
Where are your meetings? Where do y'all have your
Where
meetings?
are
in a facility, in a new building. Oh, you should see that.
Oh, I've seen some pictures of it. It's very nice, and they actually have some space that you
There's a
can rent.
big, where we meet, we got a conference, there's a big, you can fit 200 people in there.
And we've looked at, because you can actually rent that facility
Yeah,
over
they,
there.
they lease it out every once, yeah.
Because we're dealing with that, because space is always the pain in the butt to
Yeah,
find.
they can lease it out, they got a side entrance coming in on it, separate from the main bus terminals on this side, and then they have the conference room on this side.
So they planned it where they can actually be a community center too at the same time.
Fourth Thursday and last Thursday.
And that's off of Rutherford Road. That's where they're,
Yeah, it's right
the
up,
bus, yeah, so.
Arcadia Drive, up in Pleasantburg.
I can tell you about the buses in Simpsonville, and I've watched.
Let me just introduce, this is Jerry Tussaud. Jerry's running for office again. Ward 6 down there in Simpsonville, this is Simpsonville Sentinel. But Jerry's a former GOP chair in Cherokee County before he moved here.
Gilmer County.
Gilmer County, they had really high turnout on all their voting. So that's what we talked to Jerry about, is how do we increase turnout here? He has smaller counties. So he knew everybody in the county. So he just
Yeah,
called
yeah.
everybody personally. He said,
Well,
come
they
out
have
and vote.
13 precincts.
Really? So 13 precincts versus 151. You call everybody personally. But that's okay. But
And he
Jerry
knows.
stepped up, running for office and helping us with a lot of things.
Well,
Go ahead.
the ones I ruled, there was about 10, 15 on.
All right, go ahead, Jerry.
All right.
Hold on.
Simpsonville buses, I've watched them day after day. They run empty all day long, all day long. They come to the commission,
With their
which
hand
I'm
in hand.
going to be on, okay? And they want $53,000 from the city of
Simpsonville.
Simpsonville to help provide for that. To provide for empty
And
buses.
these are Greenville city buses that are going all the way down there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they're
Greenway.
empty.
Part of the old Greenville.
Empty.
And none of it makes any sense to me.
It does not.
And we hear about, planning commission stuff, we hear about that with Joe Farmer going down to the city of Greenville and what they're all talking about.
Yeah.
Joe, I don't know where they were, but he showed some picture of probably what he thinks is the future of transit. These little, it's probably as big as this table, but it was like some autonomous driving vehicle that can get you around, it's like a big golf cart with whatever. But if you get more use out of it, it's cheaper. What's crazy is we were paying $1 million for a bus versus $750
See,
for
the
a gas
electric
car.
buses basically come only in one size,
Big,
big, because they have to have the battery capacity.
right.
And the part is, the ones, when they were running, they couldn't even run them an 8-hour shift.
Yep.
They'd have 2 buses for 1 route because they had to put it on the charger.
It's a disaster. Yes, Tommy.
6 hours out of a charge.
Told us last night about the buses for Greenville.
And let me tell you what these guys did up in their zone. They had a meeting and they had Benton come and I did that one other guy, Kingsbury come
Before.
or just Benton? Okay, just Benton. But they had to sit down and just, we got to be communicating. What I want to talk to Benton about, I'm hitting is we need one person, from county council or represent. Tell us what we can do to help. What, because I've seen people get frustrated about things. I'm like, I'm not sure that's true or not true. Let's figure out what's actually going there.
So anyway, he told us about the buses running with like 1 or 2 people in it. Why can't we get smaller buses? So he looked into it. If they get rid of or try to sell the buses, apparently the way the money went was the county put in like 1/3 of it. And the federal government put in 2/3 of it. So we try to get rid of it, we got to pay back the
Where that comes from.
The government money
the
first.
government money. And
Regional council of government, and just that
So,
all
yeah.
transport.
so that's why he voted for the higher $3 million or something increase if they wanted. But,
There's a lot of things that are
He
behind the
knows, he
scenes
said-
that are
he
screwed.
says, it doesn't make sense, but they're gonna work on it. They're gonna, and one of the other things we brought up was, but I didn't get to talk because I had to leave, but in Montgomery County, Maryland, 2 things in Montgomery County has that makes money was their transit system and their liquor control. Now, Montgomery County is the only county in the United States that controls their liquor. Most of them are run by state. But
They made money off their transit system?
they make money off the transit system and parking.
Is it right next to DC?
Yes.
Where's, is
Yeah.
that what it is?
That's the,
So,
Because everybody's drunk and they can't drive.
They have to have public
So
transportation.
they get them drunk and say, hey, here's a bus.
so I think, I don't know, if you could eventually, that they would make money or at least not have to be subsidized very much once, if they get it down. But I'll tell you, the buses up there in Maryland and DC, they've got so crowded that the county had to get their own bus system because the DC Transit couldn't handle it. So then the county got their own bus system and they started making the money.
Okay, interesting. Olga just passed this to me, so I guess took this off. Oh, you can add me back up here. I think it was on that side. That's how it was supposed to be. But Olga just showed me this. Andre Bauer, 12 minutes ago, says, unless this is a picture notes, 13 minutes ago, said he's going to suspend his campaign to run for U.S. Senate. So Andre Bauer. So
Yeah.
I don't know if that's because the Paul Dans guy got involved. I don't know what.
There's an investigation into the company that he works for.
There is
fraud.
something, it has to do with
Huge
Greenville. I don't know if that has to do with it, or maybe they'll attack him on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was on some advisory board. My guess is he was probably the guy who went and talked to customer clients, kind of, I look at it from it's investment advisory world, you got people that go and, know certain people with money, you talk to them. So, but, I mean, it's maybe possible. I don't know, but I mean, there's usually the rainmakers, the people that go and find investment money and invest in things. And then there's the people behind the scenes that are doing things. I don't know I think it's Broad Street is the name of it, but I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how all that falls out. But, I mean, if you see another, maybe thanks to Paul Dans guy's good. I don't know where he falls out and all that kind of stuff. But that's obviously an interesting development, real quick. But I mean, there were a lot of people thinking, we needed somebody to run, and a lot of people don't necessarily feel that Mark Lynch is the person. And I'll give you the example, and this is the manipulation thing, and I literally read it this morning. It's there's a couple pieces to it, but Evan Mulch, who works over there, and I've liked Evan. He hadn't returned a call or anything to me since he started working with Mark Lynch. So that kind of tells you something there, that you're willing to turn on people or not communicate with people because my paycheck's coming from Mark Lynch, and Mark Lynch doesn't like Jeff Davis, so I can't talk to Jeff Davis anymore. But Evan was posting something about Thomas Massey. Now, Thomas Massey, a lot of us like Thomas Massey. We like the things he talks about, all that kind of same thing with Rand Paul and all that kind of stuff. It sounds great. But the comment or the post was about, Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, is definitely on team, Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, are we serious, or is this like, kind of stirring the pot? Is this just, getting donations and trying to appeal? And I hate to say to low information voters, because, I certainly was one, but I'm like, where's working the system? All the things that Deborah Manning just talked about, where's working the system? Where's understanding it versus, pressing buttons to kind of get people riled up and if they're mad at Mike Johnson and I'm the one who pointed it out, they're going to, come to me and, put likes on there or send donations to me or kind of support what I'm kind of saying. I don't think Mike Johnson is sitting there wanting to hide and cover up stuff to support Jeffrey Epstein's legacy and or people that may or may not have participated in some of that stuff. I think all that stuff's going to come out. I don't think it can be covered up. I think people will try. I don't think Mike Johnson's dumb enough to be the person trying. Maybe he is. I don't know. But if he is, we'll find out.
But my big concern is all of these Epstein files were in the possession of the most corrupt U.S. attorney and FBI office in the country for the 4 years of the Biden. And anybody that doesn't think they would alter records, I mean, that's just like the burn bags that have just showed up last week.
There's two cases to it. If it was really there, why did not, in the accusation here was it was a cover up. Mike Johnson was covering up because some billionaire Republican donor. I'm like, well, if it's true, don't you think the Democrats would have brought it up, number one? And number two, there is the issue of fabricated evidence, fabricated stuff.
Well, see, I like the new tack that Representative Comer is taking on this.
Subpoena there, bud?
Yeah, well, no, but the back, what everybody says it's about Epstein, and it is on this little piece over here. The real heart of that story is the money laundering through the Clinton Foundation that Epstein was tied to.
Oh, was he tied in?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, he and Bill were like best buds.
There's a saying, pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered.
Yeah.
I believe, but as a tax attorney and all that stuff, we dealt with a lot of nonprofits and a lot of stuff like that, all that kind of jazz. You can abuse the system. A pig will get fat, so you're not probably, if you know how to work, but a hog, they're going to get slaughtered. What the Clinton Foundation did was so over the top. It was selling, and it was just, for donations. They were doing it in a different way. You talked about, smurfing and all that. They were just doing it in a different way. They were getting money into their foundation. Nobody's donating to the Clinton Foundation anymore, are they?
Nope.
I mean, but they were when they had a bunch of power and could do a bunch of things.
Oh, yeah. Well, that, it's.
And it was okay for a foreign power to donate to a foundation. You can do that type of stuff. So
I wanted to ask the gentleman about the busing thing. So you're talking about going to gas buses.
They went to.
Electric.
No, I know they went electric. Now you're saying they're going back to natural gas.
No, they have diesel. They got natural gas now. We got 5 natural gas, and they have supposedly ordered some more electric from a new company.
they've ordered more electric.
Yeah, well, part of that
We're
is.
in trouble because of electric.
Part of that-
They're
you know
ordering
where
more.
that
Greenville
money-
to charge
you know where that originally come from? The Biden's clean energy stuff.
Okay, so it's just,
Inflation Reduction Act.
yes, so it's old stuff because the feds were paying for 2/3 of it. Now we're
They
stuck.
ordered these buses and the companies kept going blank, so they keep rolling it over and rolling it over and rolling it over until they find somebody that can build something.
We'll see, we're working on a thing in eastern North Carolina, there are 9 counties that use a centralized landfill. And I got involved in some stuff, 15 years, wow, it's all fun. We did a study on our landfill just in little Cleveland County. And if we'd have spent about $1.2 million in capital equipment, which is basically the capture and cleaning and compress equipment, we would have been able to provide natural gas for every county vehicle for 21 years.
Wow.
Wow.
So
I got to talk to one of my friends down east, and what I told him, I said, if nothing else, all of the trucks that run back and forth from those 9 counties to the landfill, convert them to natural gas, start capturing, in order to make it, I mean, how many people are aware that 35% of the electricity that runs the BMW plant comes from landfill gas? Yeah. two GE gas turbines that were built right out here on Garlington Road.
35%?
35%. Well, it may be down a little bit now because of how rapidly the plant's growing, but at one time it was actually about half of the electricity that ran the BMW plant.
And the natural gas buses and the diesels all weigh about $10,000 to $15,000 less
Pounds.
than an electric bus. Because I have friends that work at Mack Truck.
They're pretty efficient.
One Mack truck, one electric Mack truck, just the engine day cab, no big sleepers, nothing. Just a single day cab truck weighs 10,000 pounds more with the battery.
Oh my goodness.
Good gosh.
Oh, it's,
I mean, I look at some of these big, and all we saw one the other day, and I'm like,
Are
that thing
these
is
lithium
it's
powered or
full of
lead acid?
batteries. It's a massive battery.
it
Those
actually,
things-
lithium batteries
Pick
don't
up the
weigh
battery
much.
in your vehicle, in your car. Just
That's,
try to go
but that's
pick up-
lead acid.
Oh, is it?
Well,
It's different than
No,
lithium?
Lithium ion
Okay.
weighs a fourth. If these are new buses, the battery and the electric motor will weigh less than the diesel motor.
And Tesla weighs as much as my diesel pickup.
Is it lead batteries or is it lithium
The
batteries?
Tesla, Tesla car weighs as much as my diesel pickup.
It's a lithium battery.
Is it lithium?
Yeah,
Lithium,
Teslas are,
Cobalt.
But they have to be so big.
well, to get the mileage.
Oh, okay.
That's
Okay.
that's
Is
why
that what they're doing?
weight. That's
If
where
you
the
have a
weight
city bus
differential.
that needs to go 400 miles, it's gonna have a great
They got
big
whole bunch
battery.
well, that's why they
Same with
totally
car.
pulled the plug on the
Most of them don't run,
electric freight world.
most of them
It's
don't run
going
more than
away.
8.
Yeah, it'll
7,
never
8
happen.
hours.
It'll never happen because it's
I mean,
just
well,
not efficient.
$600,000 for a vehicle as opposed to $200,000.
And it can only
every
go so many
and every
miles.
230 miles, you got to stop and charge for 6 hours.
Power's gone out, the train's recharging.
And the diesel and the natural gases run, to me, cleaner than the electric does.
Well,
Yeah.
natural gas
Yes,
is
I agree
definitely
with
cleaner.
Sure, yes.
I agree with that.
I mean, I started, gosh, this was back when I was at the plating shop. Piedmont Natural Gas was running their service fleet on compressed natural gas in the late 70s.
Yeah.
And they were getting, and this is the old Ford F-150s or F-100. And most people at that time, basically 100,000 miles was a throwaway. They were getting 300,000 to 400,000
They
miles
burn
out of
clean.
engines because of how clean they burn. You don't
Yep.
have to, I mean, it's,
That's right.
and they walked away from it because somebody says, oh, we can do this with batteries.
You can convert a diesel motor to natural gas.
Yes. Company
I didn't know
in
that.
Hardin, North Carolina does that.
All it
We-
does
we-
is change
we
the
had
heads.
diesel, tow motors, lift trucks.
Yep.
And they convert them all over to LP.
But,
Or dual fuel. That's what a lot of them are now.
well, it's all about the almighty buck to a lot of these people, as opposed to finding the right solution, which is most of us think in politics and government, it's people just coming together to find the right solution. I mean, the reality is that's a third or half, 40% of the economy out there. They've got all the taxes we pay and all the deficit spending they do, and then they're trying to, figure a way to make money off of it.
If they can hook up into the commuter system, because right next to the terminal downtown, they got a parking deck that you cannot get into because the commuters are in there. And I keep telling them, well, where are all the commuter coming from? They're right next to your bus terminal. They won't answer me.
That one where because it's behind First Baptist Church.
Yeah, I think that's,
Or right next to
Downtown.
So they're coming from North Main, driving and parking down there?
Wherever
Wherever.
when you
They don't-
open
they
a
don't-
bus terminal, that's the hub.
Yeah.
All the buses are on an hour loop. They go out, come back in half an hour, and then they come back and meet in the main hub. And then if you've got an interline, you change buses there, because none of the buses interconnect any.
Right. Where I lived in Atlanta was right by the Lindbergh MARTA station. You could get on Lindbergh MARTA station, just ride straight down and, to the airport. I'd fly a whole lot more than I'd ever drive. It was easier for me just to drive down to the airport, park, and then ever get on Lindbergh MARTA station. So it was never gonna be, economically efficient.
Even though MARTA is one of the better run mass transit systems in the country.
Yeah.
All you gotta do is look at Charlotte.
Well, I haven't followed Charlotte. I mean, the MARTA system was pretty easy to, if you needed to do it.
We don't
Right now,
think the
right now,
wellness-
the taxpayers of Charlotte and Mecklenburg County subsidize every person that gets on the light rail about $21 a ticket.
$21 a day?
A ticket.
A ticket.
Ticket, not a day, per ticket. So if you have 100 people get on the daggum train that day at $100 a pop.
Wow.
And it's $2 to go from Pineville to Uptown. Even though it's costing them $22
Yeah,
tax.
he knows. Awesome.
Yeah, sometimes I'll think, well, we have to have that way into the future and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, you did better off just getting the land and sitting there and don't ever do anything with it. Yes, Ray. You have an update?
Yeah.
Anything important? Pro-life, would that be important?
I think so.
Okay, well, okay, if you think it's important.
Good answer.
Good answer. I like shaking it up every once in a while. Then they'll take a clip of Jeff Davis and they pro-life.
Take it out of
Always something,
context.
Jeff, always something.
In no particular order. The Restore Act now has a number for the Senate. It was originally a House bill at the federal level. There's now, Senate now has a number, it's S4533. One thing I learned here last weekend, not all ecoptic pregnancies need to result in the death of the child. They're actually getting better and better at actually saving the child.
We've heard of that.
That's important because the whole false argument about abortion saves lives, they're confusing saving a woman's life with an abortion because the child dies. Well, technology is getting better in that regards. More and more children are being saved, even with ecoptic pregnancies.
It's a little bit more work to go through that process, but it's a lot.
It's a life. Apparently, the injunction against the Big Beautiful Bill is still ongoing. One of the things I would like to see is a push to our federal legislators to bring Judge Indrina Tolwani before Congress for impeachment. She's basically violating two decisions by the U.S. Supreme Court that were made within weeks of her decision. Number one, she's not authorized to vote, to rule on a nationwide matters, and number two, Planned Parenthood's medical activities are too narrow in scope to be considered in line with a true hospital. For our educational outreaches, Mark Lynch and Bridget Van Means are both confirmed.
What date is that? When are y'all doing that? The 18th?
No, the 18th of this month is going to be adoption. Let's see. Let me pull. I guess I should have wrote that down. September is Bridget. She's going to be on the 8th of September, and Mark will be on the 13th of October. For those that are interested, the Greenville Women's Clinic, that's the abortion clinic here in Greenville County. They do appear to be open on Fridays, presumably for administrative matters. It doesn't appear that the doctor's going there, but the nurses and other technicians are there, and occasionally some clients go there as well.
And that's Grove Road.
That's on Grove Road.
And so one of the two physicians retired, is that correct? So they only have
Yes.
one now?
Yeah, Buffkin's the
Yes.
doctor that's there
They
now.
cut their hours back substantially.
Yeah, it used to be 6 days a week. Now they're 4 days a week, although apparently they're doing in-house things on Fridays. However, this week the numbers dropped. They're only about 2/3 of what they've been, of what we've seen in the past. Usually it's around 20 this week a day. This week it was more like 13 or 14 a day. And then the last bit of news, I was informed that Harris's bill here in Columbia, that Harris's bill H3537 will possibly be brought up for discussion in January.
And Harris's bill, that's the,
That's equal protection.
Equal
That
protection.
would treat abortion as murder.
Right.
There's a lot of misinformation about that bill.
and my
which
theory
I'm
about
happy to
that is
talk about
always, I
sometime.
mean, my theory of that is like the moratorium thing, which is like the caucus thing. It is to, I mean, maybe some
Force
believe,
conversation.
you really, start the conversation. I don't think a lot of people really want to put somebody to death for an abortion, but we can get the conversation going, bring some people to the table and say, let's have that conversation and get to where we need to get.
Yeah, that's the big part of the misinformation. They're saying, well, I don't want to put a woman in an electric chair for having an abortion. It's like, how many executions have taken place in the state in the last 20 years?
We don't put people in the electric chair for killing actual humans. You know, I mean, I'm not saying actually,
Yeah.
but you know what I mean? You know, we rob a bank and kill nobody.
It's
You know, I mean,
Tell me
you know,
about it.
much
Now,
less something that's.
You know, if this woman killed her 12-year-old child, you're saying that she has the right to walk free?
Right.
And so, well, that's different. It's like, no, it's her child. And then they get into the whole argument about, well, the ones can be unfairly prosecuted. That's hard to say. I mean, as far as I can tell, murder is the oldest charged civilization. When civilization came up, the first law they created was against murder, as far as I can tell. You know, we have millennia worth of case history to go into this. It's not like we're just flipping a switch and all of a sudden women are the bad guys. And honestly, Harris's bill actually has stronger penalties for the non-woman, because there's crimes by definition she can't commit. She cannot coerce her own self to kill the
Crimes
child.
against the doctors, is that what
Yeah,
you're saying?
crimes against the doctors, against the pimp, against the boyfriend, even anyone who's encouraged her to get an abortion, either lightly or forcibly. And she does. They're trying to paint her as like this is going to go strictly after the woman. It's like, read the bill.
No, they never do that.
But it's talking points. It's just like all these subpoenas they sent out, you know, from the U.S. House. I'm watching it. You know, we cut the cable a long time ago, but I'm watching, you know, on Fire TV. You can watch all the little short clip videos. And one of the short clip videos is talking. You know, the title was Trump administration gets subpoenas over Epstein case from Republicans. I'm like, what? Who's subpoenaing the Trump administration? And you know, I watched it, and it's like, oh, it was just the title to get you to click on it. And it's like, you know, yeah, there was two people that were, you know, four of them were Republicans.
Bill Barr and
Yeah, Bill Barr and somebody else. I'm like, that's not the Trump administration. Why is the title that the Trump administration received? We have got to figure this piece out. You know, and I will tell you, and maybe I probably shouldn't say it because people go back and take this out of context too. But when The Guardian was here a couple of years ago, we took them to the rodeo down there in Fountain Inn and all that kind of stuff. You know, they interviewed, they're super nice. And then, you know, the final interview after that, you know, he comes up and talks to me, you know, and I had talked to him before and they had all these clips. The guy came in hard hitting. Oh, what do you think about it? You know, this equal protection? And do you believe a woman needs to be, you know, put to death because of blah, 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 and all this? I'm like, where did this come from? Y'all have talked reasonable the entire time. And then all of a sudden you wanted to get your clip. You know, and of course I do what I do is I try to explain, yeah, that's to get people to come to the table. I don't think, you know, but that's not the clip they put in the video, right?
Of course not.
You know, but it's just, we got to figure that stuff out. So.
And unfortunately, the biggest proponents for Harris's bill, really, if you listen to them, it's almost like they're upset that women have gotten away scot-free for 50 years, and now it's time to get justice on them. It's like, that is not the message. That is not what the bill says. And this is not the message you need to be telling the world, because all you're doing is alienating.
Right.
You know, it's about murder. We have at least 4,000 years of case history on how to deal with murders. And that's part of the beauty of the bill.
Look at the goal, look at the mission. The goal of the mission is to save lives.
Yes.
Not to get retribution, not to sit there and make, you know, a name for yourself, not to do all these types of things. And if you're not helping mission, you know, then that's a problem and you need to be exposed for it.
Exactly.
That's what drives me nuts. I mean, y'all are working on mission of trying to get things done with the planning commission. And we don't want to stop all development, but we want to have reasonable, you know, control development, smart development, however you want to phrase it. Just not smart cities, right?
I'd spoken with a lawmaker, and I was very, very surprised with his response back. I said, so why don't we stop the situation before it gets started? Why in the world are we not sponsoring and backing birth control? I don't understand. Well, that's against our values. And I said, so getting pregnant is okay, but preventing the pregnancy is not okay. I'm not understanding this.
My understanding, because I hear what you're saying, my understanding is some people believe birth control is a form of abortion, which
I
is
would
something
prefer
that we
to
need
have
to
it stopped
discuss.
before it-
I understand, but it's something I think that's the communication I've got back, which is why we need to have a discussion for people to understand.
So much of what's going on in that is things appear obvious at first, but the reality of the situation is very different. name me one country in the world that has birth control but does not allow abortion. It's birth control is to stop unwanted pregnancies. It's going to fail, so you still got an unwanted pregnancy. Well, if the whole purpose is to destroy unwanted pregnancies, then abortion is the natural, logical conclusion when birth control fails.
Which is the other argument for it. It actually encourages more people to have sex, and then you're going to have an unwanted pregnancy. It's a conversation we all need to have. Because I would tell you, I mean, I would have been certainly in the camp of thinking, oh, well, just do birth control. You're fine.
Except it doesn't work.
Yes.
And
Not in every
It
case.
gets deeper and deeper in the rabbit hole. But we have to figure out what is the right answer to protect.
Well, bottom line
lives.
is, I mean, we want to protect lives.
Right.
We
Yes.
don't want to.
And I think we all do. I mean, just because somebody supports birth control doesn't mean they are pro-abortion, right? There's just trying to figure out the right solution to that. So
that comes back to
I
education,
looked
which
this
I know
up.
is your primary goal in the first
Right.
place.
4% of the county budget goes to transportation. 3.4% of the revenue coming back from transit. So only 0.6% of they're spending on buses. But here was the other neat thing that I just saw. Here was on.
but our county budget's what, 600 million?
7.8
Seven?
billion.
Not billion.
Well, it's way up there. I don't know.
Okay, but
But anyway, it says
that's where you get to your $5 or $6 million.
they get 27.8 million from fines for parking and the red light cameras.
Really? How much?
27 million. $7 million.
That's impressive.
27.8 million.
So we ought to want everybody to drive a car. And make more money off of it. Make that argument.
And don't have the overhead of the transit system.
Right, we don't have the overhead, we just make money, And I will tell you, there's a lot of people that certainly on the more conservative route that are really big and anti the red light cameras. Because, it's just a way to, you're monitoring people, number one, but also you're just bringing in revenue and all that kind of stuff. It's really one of the big
The
fights
screwed up
the
thing
libertarians,
about
I think, have
the
had.
screwed up thing about those red light, those cameras for the red lights, they don't actually find the person who did the offense. They find the owner.
Right.
Because I know this from a fact, because my daughter, whose car at the time was registered in my name, because I helped her get the car and I was the principal on it. She ran a light in Montgomery, Alabama. I got the ticket in the mail, and I'm like, what the hell is this?
You're the registered owner.
And but they were nice enough to send a picture of the vehicle running the red light with the citation. So I contacted her and says, I think this is yours.
Did it have a picture of her driving to?
Nope,
or
just
the
the tag.
license.
Just the license plate.
Yes, sir.
The Greenville County budget fiscal year 2025 through 2026 is $488.5 million.
So the 2-year budget was like $1 billion, close to $1 billion. So if you think 0.6%, that's $3 million
4%
cost versus 3.4 revenue.
revenue.
So your 0.6 is your loss on it. So 0.6 of $500 million a year. is what we're
Still
having to
jump
pay.
change.
Now, they're getting ready to go ahead and start to do the budget for 2026, 2027, so.
Which I'm glad, I mean, I'd like 2-year budget planning. We need to go back to 1 year to kind of figure some things out and then, get it back in line.
Makes it
So,
harder to hide. 1 year makes it harder to hide.
it does. But what we have seen, think about the opposite of it. What we've seen down at the State House, they like doing 1-year budgets because guess what? Everybody gets to come back and beg them for money and they get taken out or bribed.
They get all that. They
more
get all the
donations
perks.
and all that kind of stuff. So
A year to
it's
complain
funny,
and
something
get all
that
the
works
support.
one way, one system, they then figure out how to work that system and you got to go back. That's why, in business, you're constantly changing things up because that's what'll, you have to. I mean, creative destruction, I guess I call it in business.
You want an update?
Yes.
Okay, on
Closed primaries.
Closed
What's our
primaries.
update on closed
the
primaries?
bill 3310
3310.
is the principal bill that has the most traction. It
Can you
has
pull
the
up
best
3310 and
language.
put it on there?
Has the best language for what we want because it will keep. There are actually 4 bills total, and there's 2 Senate bills, 2 House bills. All 3 of the other bills have wording in it which would allow people to stay as independents, not register with a party, but still be allowed to vote in the primaries.
So
under
there
the-
are 4 bills, 2 in the House, 2 in the Senate.
The
3 of the bills allow you to be an independent and pick whichever one you want
Yep.
to vote in.
Well,
This
how it
one-
is in-
That's
how it
not
is-
closed primary.
That's right.
Or the good
Right. That's
That's how
what
it
they
is in
call
North
them though.
Carolina.
But
3310.
3310 does
Carolina.
close that primary loop.
Do you
It
like
was-
that or don't like that?
No, no.
It's in the House.
I'm working with a group in the
it was-
state party.
It was submitted.
Cause see, the way, this is the thing that, and
But that's the way they do it in North Carolina. You
yeah,
can be
but the
independent and go
difference is,
nowhere.
but the difference is, in North Carolina, primary elections are classified as private
Right.
And
operations.
that's what we're trying to get here.
So what we're doing is I'm working with a group on the state executive committee to put forth, to get a resolution passed where we close the primary because the party can make the decision. Now, they put it in legislation last year, and first thing I did was went to my lawyer buddy who's on the legislature, and he says, oh, that'd be tossed out so fast if anybody could, if anybody challenges it.
But
the key to it, and Jeff will tell you, I've been pounding on this for, 30 years since I was down here.
Registration first.
And that is, until you have registration by party, you can't close primary.
God has
This-
created
this-
that we have to have registration
Yeah.
first and then we do it.
well, see, this is the one 3310 does have an aspect in it which tells the voter registration or your county voter registration. There's a mechanism in it to help them set it up so that you can vote. You can stay an independent if you want, but you cannot vote in partisan primaries under 3310.
Common sense.
What I'm reading,
Right.
it says you cannot vote, in partisan primary without being registered. To me, it looks like a registration by form.
It's both.
It's
They
both.
they're probably
That's-
doing both, the registration and the closed primary.
Yeah.
Because if you
at the
don't
same
do the
time.
first, you can't do the second.
Yeah,
And
Yeah,
there
I have
should be
But-
a time limit in terms of registration. You
but
can't do it.
here's
Right.
here's where we stand. It was pre-filed in December, was immediately referred to the Judiciary Committee. They had their first meeting on it on the 4th of January. It had its first reading then. And then, of course, they immediately decided that on the 14th, they would send it to the subcommittee, which is constitutional law. The chairman of Judiciary is Newton out of Beaufort, a Rhino. The chairman of the subcommittee, who is the first vice chair of the Judiciary, Jay Jordan out of Florence, is another Rhino. We have 3 Republicans and 2 Democrats on that board, on that subcommittee. So all you got to do is have one of the Rhinos jump ship, and it's done.
Well, the issue is they just don't call it up for a meeting.
Yeah,
You don't
yeah.
actually
That's right.
have-
It's just-
That's how you kill it.
And when I asked them when the next committee, when they would be scheduling a committee meeting, they said because it's in Zoom, it's in the subcommittee, those have to be public hearings, which allows the public to be involved in the question and answers. So they can't do it by Zoom. So they have to wait till they're back in session again in January.
Just remind them
Instantly
that they
a
can have a
year,
meeting
isn't it?
in Columbia and
Yep.
they get paid their per diem for going down there. So you get your 200 to 300 bucks
Yep.
if you go down there. and
But
have a-
that's the song and dance answer you get from the chairman's office.
And then once they get into session, oh, we're too busy to have.
Yep.
committee.
We're having to do a budget.
We're too busy doing budget or we're too busy doing something else. It's all this takes priority. So
And I will tell you, this
She's
is the
been
bill
passing
by
it
Mike
around 3
Burns.
times. They've killed a year.
It seems to be
well,
what
it's 2 years.
it seems to be the Freedom Caucus bill, and in number one, we got number two, we got that other that they don't want it number one, number two, they got the whole huge fight
Yep.
against the Freedom Caucus, and anything that the Freedom Caucus has its name on is not going to go anywhere.
But
Whether we
need
like
to-
that or don't, it's just is what it is.
But what one of my tasks is to find
And
out
my
who the
point-
chairman or who the presidents of the counties, Florence, Bamberg, and Beaufort County Republican Party,
Mhm.
get in touch with them and put the bug in their ear, start putting the bug in their elected official, because they're going to listen to their president of their county more than they'll listen to anybody else.
Probably the people that are voting for them.
Yep.
And that's where it gets back to all of these elections. Nate Lloyd going around saying we're the kiss of death, when in reality, he's the one who supported Adam Morgan as boss and who lost, and he's the one supported, tons of people that have actually lost. But we have to be able to back up what we're saying. So if you go in there to pick a county, except Bamberg, I think he said Marshall, Butte, you gotta be able to go in there and say, we need this, and you gotta do it, and if not, we're coming after you. And it has to be the local people,
Yep.
and to go after
Yeah,
them.
not Greenville calling down to spot Buford and saying, hey, we're coming after you. They're not
Or
gonna
if we
listen.
build a coalition with Buford, and we're all working at. Now, they'll have the flip side of, it's Freedom Caucus, we don't want Freedom Caucus because whatever valid or invalid reasons and all that kind of stuff.
The-
But we have to find out if this, I like the fact you've singled it out, there's 4 of them. 3 of them will let independents vote, so no go there.
Mhm.
So this is the last one. Do we need to go this, or do we need to find something that we can get some old guard establishment people and some new people and really come out with, this is the actual version we want.
The
and then you
3310
get it
has the
through.
biggest number of co-sponsors from the House that are not necessarily all Freedom Caucus, because I went through the list of everybody who was a sponsor or co-sponsor of it. And
Chapman,
I would specifically look them up in the Freedom Caucus's records. And so I marked off. So actually, a small portion of these are Freedom Caucus members.
I see 3 of them that aren't.
Yeah, there's
Out of all. So it's only 3.
yeah, but there's
But they're gonna look
I think total when I counted them all up, it was like 5 total.
on 3310.
No, I'm talking about of the count. Well, you're looking at 3310, what, 3 sponsors?
No, 3310's got your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, got
Yeah.
12 or 13.
Yeah, but of those, there's only like 4 or 5 of them that are Freedom Caucus.
3 of them are not Freedom Caucus.
Yeah. So, the other thing that we were talking about earlier when it comes to the immigration deal, Wednesday on Tara's show in the morning, Lieutenant Governor Everett was on there, and she asked the question specifically: if you were to become governor, would you ask the president to deputize state officials? Her answer back was that she spoke with the chief of SLED, and he turned around and told her that South Carolina is already complying with the 827G program. Well, 827G is a voluntary program, and each county's law enforcement has to ask independently of ICE to have an agreement.
Each sheriff's department actually has something, it's 287G, but
Greenville County, even though Hobart Lewis is going to say, he is all for supporting.
As he asked.
No, actually, he signed an agreement just last year with ICE, and in that agreement, he will only turn over illegal immigrants that are already incarcerated,
But he won't hunt them down.
but he won't hunt them down.
That's what we need to know.
He's
That's what we
not
need to
cooperating.
document.
No, he
That's
is
what we
not
need to
cooperating
expose.
with the street, out on the street to catch these people. He is not.
So he's not deputizing his.
He,
No.
he's just
He is only using,
halfway there.
he's only doing it if they're already caught committing a crime and they're in the county jail. And it then found out that, ICE is looking for this person. Then he'll hold them and turn them over instead of releasing them on bond.
well, at least that's better than what they do in Mecklenburg.
It's better than just releasing them and hiding them and all that kind of stuff.
But
But he's
it's
not,
not,
but he's not
it's
turning, he's not
not what
cooperating.
we in Greenville County is one of the most
Lackluster
conservative counties in the state would want. And why is he doing that?
something bad has to happen.
Yeah,
first
you gotta wait
before
till this
you
person
take them
commits a
off.
violent crime
Yep.
before you can do anything. Whereas,
How do you protect us from something bad?
but how often does that happen? Not as often as catching these people driving and giving them, pull them over and give them a ticket. You engage with illegals a heck of a lot more at that level, but because the sheriff won't allow his deputies to enforce it at that level.
But in assuming all of that is accurate, and I want to document it, write it down, to get all the backup.
I'll
So
get all
that's
the
what we're talking about with what
It's all
Bob's
on my
wanting
laptop
to work
actually in the
on.
house.
And what I think Liz wants to help with, document and box Hobart in the corner. I don't mind telling her. We're saying we're going to box, either do the right thing. I don't really care if he does the right thing. I don't really care. It doesn't matter. We want him to do the right thing, but we got to document and box him in the corner to do it. Then we'll bring up the fact that it took all this work to get you to do your job of what everybody thought you should be doing. But I mean, let's get him to do it. What's the mission? The mission number one is get them to be a part of it and to get rid of the illegals that are here. I mean, it's a big issue. Trump got elected because of that issue. But Biden and those guys were trying to sabotage the entire country by letting in people just walk across, and everybody blamed, oh, we need legislation. We didn't need legislation. We did a different president.
Shut the board.
That would actually,
Shut the door.
just shut the door and enforce it. So, I mean, we've got it, and I will tell you, I know for a fact, I already used to use the excuse of, oh, well, we don't get the support by, it's the Biden administration, my hands are tied. No, apparently your hands aren't tied. You're not willing to do it. You need to go, but we got a box in
And
the
Tom
corner.
Homan will give you $50,000 to sign up to be an ICE officer.
Yes, if you're recertified. So, but that's what we got to document up, and that's what I want us all.
I'll dig the
working
rest of that up, because I was sitting there last night for 2 hours reading all that information under 827G.
It takes a lot of time.
827G, actually, there are only 5 states in the entire country that are not involved in the 827G program in some way, shape, or form. And there's only 5 of them that aren't. Or not, that aren't. And you can guess which 3 of them, right off the bat, you can guess who 3 of them are.
New York,
California, New York, and Illinois.
Well, those,
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts.
it is, New Jersey, Illinois, California, Oregon, and Washington.
Okay.
And then you
What's
have,
the name of that bill you said, 8 what?
it's not a bill, it's a program, 827G.
8?
287.
287.
287.
287, yeah, 287.
287.
287G.
Yes.
Yeah,
We just
select-
got a
I'm
law.
gonna turn all y'all into lawyers.
Well, in North Carolina, we just got a law, veto overridden, a law that now every sheriff in the state of North Carolina must cooperate with ICE or they can be
Removed
removed.
from office.
Really? And your governor, the Democrat, vetoed it,
And we overrode it.
and they overrode the veto.
Because
Y'all
they have-
overrode 8 vetoes last week.
Yep.
And
And I
y'all,
talked, by the way, I talked to 2 people this morning about 87,
yes.
and it will be overridden on August 26th.
And the other kicker that most of us don't understand is they keep saying that, well, we can't get rid of them, can't get rid of them, can't get rid of them. The easiest way to get rid of them is get the damn employment commission involved and say, you have to prove everybody that's working for you is legal to be here. And until they enforce that against the employers, you're not going to get rid of these people.
Well, the
It
bigger,
is actually against the law for an employer to hire an illegal, but they don't do anything to enforce it.
well, one of the other big problems, and we had a little interesting bill that got done this year that I don't think Stein actually read. But it is now law in the state of North Carolina that if you cannot prove legal residence, you cannot participate in any state-funded program. Now, but see, this is what a lot of people don't understand. Every one of your federal programs is except for Social Security. Social Security is the only one that is run from top to bottom by the federal government. So
everything else.
so what they're saying is basically the state of North Carolina outlawed any government benefits going to illegals if they can't prove legal residence.
And
And they did.
that is that single word change that Stein and his people, the Democratic governor up there, didn't catch.
Exactly.
And he signed the bill into law. So
And,
that's the trickery that goes on. You
and
can
I
use
know
it
the
for
guy
good,
who
you can use it
put-
for bad.
I know the guy who put the right words in the bill.
Who's that, you?
One of the guys I work with.
Yeah, what's your take on the election in Spartanburg?
Move to adjourn.
I don't know much of anything about the candidates and who they are. On Tuesday, they had the election for sheriff, replaced Chuck Wright over there, and they had the county council seat. I didn't get involved in a lot of it, so,
Well, the county council, the guy that I think everybody wanted, Alverson,
yes.
he only got 15%.
Yeah.
And they said it was only 12% of the people voted.
Well, and that's the
That's
biggest
pretty,
issue.
that's pretty typical.
12% in a runoff in August 5th, whatever, in a special election. That's what we've got to work on. And that's what I really want us working on in these municipal races. Now, if somebody's running for, there's an open fire commission seat or an open city council seat or something like that. And there's 3 precincts or 6 precincts involved in it. Let's go focus on those precincts and get people to turn out. You could probably win a fire commission vote with, I've seen them with 25 votes,
I was gonna tell you,
and I'm not saying by 25 vote margin, I'm saying only 25 people came out and pressed the button. because that might be the only election that is on the ballot for a particular fire district.
Wow.
You know, I bet
Or a precinct.
I would, well, yeah, and I would think, you know, I'm in the Wade Hampton Fire District. I don't think there's any other race in November, but there will be, you know, somebody running from Wade Hampton Fire District. I assume, I got to check. I think there's 3 and they rotate them every 2 years. You know, but it's, you know, I mean, if nobody goes and votes, but if you want to run for it and you know 100 people, you just get your 100 friends to go out there and you can get elected. That's what we got to
walk
work.
your neighborhood and you're elected.
Yes. You know, and part of that is that's the granular work we've got to do. And the good piece about it is, you know, we're not perfect on the granular work. And whether we like it or not, we don't like it, early voting, but we've got every day for 2 weeks, we got an opportunity to go out there and we can get the list of people that have voted and say, oh, this person was going to vote for me. I can check them off because they've already voted. I don't have to waste any more time or energy calling them up. But if I see that, you know, my mother has not yet gone to vote, I can call her up and say, Mom, I see you haven't voted yet. You said you would go out and vote because she's in my same fire district. I said, can I come pick you up and take you to the McAllister Square? And we got to, number one, call them. We got to follow up with them. You know, there's one street in one of the precincts that we have, in Old Gun. I drove it the other day, you know, in the city. And it's like, you know, there's 136 voters on there. It's one street that's cordoned off into a precinct because the city, it's not a normal city precinct, but one street is in the city. So I'm like, we can go out and there's 136 voters. 8 years ago, only 25 of them came out and voted in this particular race. Well, instead of 25, which we won 25 to, it was, I guess, by 12 margin or something like that. But most of them were voting for us. We need to get everybody on that street to come out and vote. What do we need to do to get all of those houses to come out and vote for this election in November? You know, we got to call them. We got to send them a couple letters.
That's also one of the reasons.
But that's granular. We got to get very granular with it.
One of the reasons that a lot of elected officials don't like the idea of registration by the party, because I mean, guess what? If you got in North Carolina, we're basically third. Republicans, we actually now have more Republicans than Democrats. But at least if you're a Republican running in the primary, there's a third you ain't gonna waste your time looking for.
That's right.
But in South Carolina, if you're a Republican running in the primary, you've got to look at all 100% of the registered voters.
In the primaries, the Democrats can come vote, the independents, so you got to watch everybody. Now, what our fear is about the registration by party is those people only want registration by, Drew McKissick only wants registration by party, so he knows who to send the letters to. So fundraise, that's all he cares about.
Yeah.
He doesn't care about only those people that are Republicans voting for Republicans. He's like, oh, that'll save me, 2/3 of my mail budget, because I'm only mailing
It also
Republicans.
makes it where I can tell you, having worked statewide elections for the last 16 years in North Carolina, it makes a big difference when you can say right out, bottom line, first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna contact every registered Republican. And then we'll go and we'll pull, because when you get your ballot for the primary, if you're unaffiliated, it shows whether you pulled a Republican or a Democrat ballot. So that way it gets to where, okay, we focus on all the Republicans first. And then the next step is any of the unaffiliateds that pulled a Republican ballot in 2 of the last 3 primaries. I mean, they want it so big that you work yourself to death and don't know whether you're working in the right direction or not. And that's what the people like a Drew McKissick loves.
Yes, because they can continue to put the money behind who they want there.
They put the money, they think
and
they know
that
how to
way-
run campaigns better.
that way
they
it
have
makes-
better data.
That way it makes the person that they don't want have to work even harder, even though he's probably on a much tighter budget.
Oh yes, I understand all that really good right now.
Because all you gotta do is look at your mailbox around here.
Yeah.
I mean, you get so much junk mail during political season from everybody.
And I'll
Doesn't matter
make
what
two
party it
quick
is.
comments. We'll talk about, on the 16th, we got a lot of stuff coming up. The 16th, a Saturday, we got See You at the Library. We're gonna do it just at one location down at the main library. get some people to come in, read a story, American, this is Kirk Cameron's Brave Books.
Brave Books.
This is the alternative to the Drag Queen Story Hour. So we should support it. We're doing that on the 16th. On the 18th, got the Sherry Biggs barbecue. She's continuing that with what Jeff Duncan used to do. They didn't have it last year because Duncan wasn't running for re-election. They didn't know who'd be the actual congressperson, so they didn't have it last year. But I will remind you, if you remember 2 years ago, Drew McKissick was speaking at it. And I think I posted it out there. Drew McKissick was speaking, and he was the person that was actually calling Jeff Duncan to come up to the stage to speak. And instead of calling Jeff Duncan, he called Jeff Davis. So we weren't there, but my phone lighted up. I thought it was hilarious. And that's on that Monday. Then on Tuesday, the 19th, will be David Pasco. And I think we're going to get it filmed and all that kind of stuff, but we'd like to get a good crowd there. We're going to try to get some press there, all those people to see all that kind of stuff. So I think
And don't
What's the
forget
new
Brown for
location on that?
NC.
it's going to be at Wade Hampton High School, right down the road here. And we're checking with those guys to see if it'll be available too for our October meeting. So I don't know why we're not doing the library. Was the library not available in October? But we're checking with them just to see. I don't know. We'll see.
You can't reserve a
I think we get
60 days, so
yes.
you'd only be able to do it if it was
And I think
on
we're
the
lined
8th
up.
or earlier.
Yeah. So we're lining up for that. So anything else before we?
Just remember brownfornc.com.
Don Brown, very simple name to remember. Like Jeff Davis or Guy Smith. Oh, yes.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. It's been 2 hours and 4 minutes. So we have a second?
Second.
Second, 50th? Yes. All right. Thank y'all for everything.
312.
Good day.
Anyone have kind of a room pickup, condos, SUV? It's like the court.